G'day guys, welcome to another layout. Thank you so much for joining me. I am scrapping a photo today that I've already scrapbooked in my wedding album, but it's just a leftover photo that, you know, we've all got them. We print photos or we get them printed through, you know, Harvey Norman or Officeworks or what's it called? Snapfish, you know, like all the different places you can get photos printed. Anyway, we always end up with leftovers. When that happens to me, I keep them and stick them all in where I store all my photos, and I sort of in my mind think I'll come back to them at some point and just do a layout with them where it's more about the layout than the actual photo. I know this is a wedding photo and I do hold it near and dear to me, obviously, but I've already scrapped the story behind the photo, so this is me just more being creative. So what I decided to do was pull out some Distress Oxide inks. I pulled out, this is Lumberjack Plaid. Now I put down to start off with was Scattered Straw. Then I use a bit of Lost Shadow and a bit of Ground Espresso. These are all the Distress Oxide inks, okay? That means that they are more opaque and they're buildable. So you can continue to add and they will layer on top of the ink underneath it. So they don't, I won't say they don't go muddy. They do. If you put blue over orange, you're going to get brown. Like, there is a little bit of a method to the madness, but basically I had this sort of, it's not really a T shape, more of an L, more of a, I just wanted to do these two stripes. I just had it in my head and I had to get it out of my head because you know what I'm like. If it's in my head, I can't sort of move on to something else. But I really love starting with a piece of crisp white cardstock, which I know scares a lot of people, but I love starting off like that and just seeing where the creative process takes me. So I'm using a stamp here at the moment, and this stamp that I'm using is the Prima stamp, and I think this one is called, if I have a look, I didn't write it down. I've got one that is Secret Notes and one that is called, and I used both of them, Old Receipt. Old Receipt gives me sort of like an old ledger sort of mark. These couple of stamps that I'm using here are some Stampin' Up stamps, and I'm not using them on a block. Yeah, I do use this one on a block, but the long one I didn't use on a block. And they are Stampin' Up Awesomely Artistic. I don't know if you can still get them. I don't sell Stampin' Up. I just bought them from a friend of mine. And yeah, so just making marks everywhere. That's what I wanted to do. And I started off, as I do, being a little bit more cautious, using, you know, Lost Shadow, just adding some extra marks in the background. And then the one that I'm using there with the Lumberjack Plaid, it's actually spots, not paint splats, it's just some spots. So I decided to put that down. Then I pulled out this is a darkroom door stencil, and it's a 9x6 stencil. Now, I've never really sort of gone down the 9x6 stencil route. So this is a medium stencil through darkroom doors. So they have small, they have medium, they have large stencils. This is a medium stencil. I've never sort of gone down this route thinking, oh, 6x6 will do me fine. But after using this a couple of times now, I really like the size of it. The medium size, which is 9x6, I actually really like it, to be quite honest. And I will probably be purchasing more stencils of this size because on a 12x12 layout, sometimes it's difficult to get enough of the stencil marks where you want them. Whereas this one, because it's words, obviously it's a little bit easier to line up. But as you can see, I'm actually trying to clean my stencil now that I didn't clean the other day. Don't worry, I don't make you sit here and watch me clean the daylights out of this stencil. Then I realised I was recording still. So as you can see, I've got me some texture. I've got texture from the paint. I've got texture from the stamps. I've got I used the Distress Texture Paste on this one. Now, the Distress Texture Paste, it's smooth. It goes on smoothly. I like it. It's a thicker, more dense consistency. So compared to the Crafters Workshop light and fluffy modeling paste, it's a little bit different. Well, it's obviously not a modeling paste, it's a texture paste. But I do like it. Personally, I probably would lean towards the light and fluffy, only because it's a lot lighter and it's a lot easier to spread smooth. But 6 of one, half of the other. To be honest, I love both of them, and they're both in my collection, so it's all good. Now, I pulled out a piece of muslin. I purchased this stuff from eBay, and was it eBay or was it Amazon? I can't remember, one or the other. I bought 2 packets of it anyway, and it will last me forever because I don't use it very often. But I wanted to create a bit of a fabric sort of background behind my photo, and these photos were printed way back in 2007, and to be completely honest, I thought, I'm really glad now that I print the white edge on my photos. I used to always hate that, but now I really like it. So I backed it once and I distressed the edges of it because the layout that I'm going with has a bit of a distressed sort of vibe to it. So, which is polar opposites to what my wedding was, let me tell you. Complete polar opposites. As you can see in this photo, if you look up close, lumberjack plaid is actually very, very close to the colour I had on my wedding dress. I had a large train on my dress. Well, no, I wouldn't say it was large. It flowed behind me a little bit. And the colour was called claret, but it's lumberjack plaid, like legit. It's almost the same colour. And I had that on my dress. So hence the lumberjack plaid was perfect. And I had red roses to die for on my wedding day. All my tables had, and I think there was about 10 or 12 tables. They all had these beautiful red and ivory roses centerpieces, and they had a beautiful candle going through the center of them that was lit, and these candles were absolutely stunning. They were beautiful. And yeah, so we had that in the center and they were absolutely stunning. Anyway, my husband and I, photographer, took these photos of our wedding rings and hands over the top of my bouquet. And yeah, I love the photo. And because the roses in this picture are red, I sort of thought, lumberjack plaid, that might work. And it really does. It really, really does. Now, don't worry, I haven't gone anywhere. I was looking for something extra. Sorry, my mouth's dry. It's first thing in the morning, so I'm drinking my morning coffee while I do this. So I was trying to figure out how wide. I was thinking initially that I was going to create like a skirt all the way around this photo. But as I was going, I realized that, no, that's not really where I want to go. So I put these strips down to hold it all in place. You won't see these strips at the end. But then I decided if I cut this in half, I don't advise cutting towards your fingers like that, by the way. It could go all horribly wrong. So I decided that I was going to tape these. Now this is where I went wrong. Learn from my mistake. This is today's mistake in the video. I had to put more tape on top because the fabric underneath was too weak to allow me to peel the tear tape off. So yeah, and it was actually quite difficult to get it off, believe it or not. And it's a new roll of tape. It wasn't the tape's fault. It was all user error, let me tell you. So I put some down each side of the photo and then realized, you know what? That's enough. I actually don't need. That's what I was trying to do on the other side. Didn't work. So yeah, oh, it was so difficult. I couldn't get it off, and I was getting really frustrated. But it's because I'm trying to keep it ruffled, and yeah, it just wasn't working. I was getting so annoyed with myself, and I was literally thinking, how can I fix this? How can I do something to fix this? But it's okay. I persevered and took 5 seconds to just stop and think. Don't get frustrated with the process. Trust the process. So see how it's sticking out the sides? And I thought, oh, yeah, you know, it actually, there it reminds me of a lemur. You know the out of Madagascar, you know, not Maurice, the other one, the King, I can't think of his name, King something, King Julian. And yeah, that's what it was reminding me of, sticking out the sides. And I sort of kept looking at it for a minute, and I thought, okay, if I just move these things off. And then I thought, maybe they're just too big. Now that I like. A little bit less. Just a little bit less is more. So it's creating texture in the background. It's kind of muting out, but you can still see the ink work coming through. And that's when I realized it's just looking a bit too scattered, like a bit too splatty. Splatty. There's a new word for you, everyone. It's a bit splatty. So I decided, okay, I'm going to just go in and just give it a crack, see what happens. So I had to add some more defining stencil work over the top of what was already there in a slightly darker color. Now this is ground espresso that I'm using, just to give your eye somewhere to actually focus on when you put the photo back versus the very beginning, where it looks really pretty. Before I put this stenciling on, it looked really cool. I liked it. I loved it, in fact. The problem was your eyes didn't have somewhere to rest, if that makes sense. Like, you need something when you're doing a layout like this. Your eye needs somewhere to go. You know, I wanted to do some horizontal and some vertical lines on the TL shape, but I didn't do it. Anyway, so this is my little homemade pot of goodness. This is my gum Arabic solution with my mica powder. I just wanted to add some gold sprinkles on here. Look, my wedding ring and everything is white gold, and that's just a preference. I just like white gold / sterling silver. You know, I like that look. So I decided to put some gold sprinkles on here just for something different. And compared to if I go back and look at my wedding album, okay, I kept everything very, very in the box. I picked certain colors. When I did my wedding album, I actually used all creative memories, everything. So I used cranberry and French vanilla, I believe, and silver and black letter alphas. I did, I think I used classics. So yeah, it just, you know, just a different take on it, different time. I mean, that was like 16 years ago. So yeah. So these are some Carpe Diem Rosie's Studio foil foam stickers that I picked up from, I think I got them from Kmart actually, not long ago, but I've just not really used them. They're very, very shiny. Very shiny. I got them home and I thought when I took them out of the packet they wouldn't be quite so shiny, but they are. So they get used very, very sparingly. In fact, this is the first time I've ever used them. So that is my layout, everybody. So now I'm going to show you up close and personal. I didn't do anything further. I figured if I kept going, I was just going to wreck it. So stop. So here's the close-ups. You can see the words. I did a bit of ground espresso around the border just to give it some definition. And let me know what you think. Do you like this? Is this something you would do? This is, as I said, this is my leftover stuff out of my wedding photos. So you can see the roses under my husband's hand there. So thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it. If you have not shared my page with your friends, I would love it if you did, because you never know. I might come up with something that will either be a solution for them or give them a new idea or a different way of looking at something. Thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave me a comment, or subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for that, guys. Bye for now.